Hey everyone, and welcome to 121 in Flux. I am Peter, that is Connor, and we talk about movies on this show. This episode is going to be a science fiction film. We're kind of doing a sci-fi month. We're going to end the month with a top 50 sci-fi movies countdown. Both of us are going to do our top 50 sci-fi movie list, so we'll probably be checking out one or two more sci-fi movies during the month. But this episode is going to be actually kind of a follow-up to a previous episode, because last year we did the original 1956 Invasion of the Body Snatchers. This episode is going to be 1978's Invasion of the Body Snatchers, directed by Philip Kaufman, which for Connor was a first-time watch.
It was. This was one that I had on my list of the ones that we should get to, because I bought this on Blu-ray about 2 years ago, maybe. And when we were going through our list, I was like, "Oh, I've got this. Let's do this." And you went, "No, we got to do the other one first."
I have to do 56 first.
So I went, "All right, fine. We'll do the other one first." So we did that one, and that sat on the shelf for another 6 months. So first opportunity. Here we go. Let's do this.
Yeah, it's also the first episode of 2018, so this is a thing.
Yep. This is how we roll, kicking things off the lists.
I don't know how you feel about 2018 yet. Hopefully it's not as awful as the last 2 years, just in a grand sense. That'd be nice.
Yeah, no. Opinions are as of yet unformed. As I've had, nothing to judge about. There's not been enough world events yet.
No, well, I mean, we're only like 4 or 5 days into the
like
year.
That. 5, yeah.
360 left. We'll see how it goes.
I spent most of this year ill, so I'd say as of right now, this year's pretty shitty. But that's because the ill days outnumber the well days. So yeah.
Well, I'll say this: I've made a cracking good start at watching more movies this year.
Oh, me too.
So we'll see how long that lasts, because I was not happy with my total. Because let's confess something here, guys. We're kind of nerds when it comes to this stuff, and we keep track of how many new movies we watch throughout the year.
I don't think anyone's going to be that surprised.
Probably not. I like to keep track, how many first-time watches I have. Not just of films that are just released, but anything, from the past.
And this seems like the perfect time to say, hey, if you want to see what all the stuff we're watching, you go follow us on Letterboxd.
Oh, sure, yeah. At Wibble89 for me.
I don't think we've ever mentioned that, have we?
Maybe once or twice, like a long time ago, but...
Yeah, mine's Connor around 94.
Yeah, mine's at Wibble89, because Connor spoke over the last time I said it.
Yeah, well, I didn't think you were going to say it straight away.
Well, get in tune. Alright? Get in sync, in rhythm. Which reminds me, have you heard Smell It Teen Spirit in Major yet? It's been auto-tuned. It's a bizarre experience.
I don't know if I've heard this version. I've heard a version of that like 4 years ago.
Nah, there's a new version that's a lot more sort of refined, shall we say.
Alright. I don't really get the appeal of all these, the ones in a major key or in a minor key.
I've never really encountered it before. It's just it was making the rounds on the Twitters, and it was an interesting listen for one time.
I think, but I feel like once you've heard one song do it, I'm like, okay, the appeal's gone now.
Yeah. Anyway, what was I saying? Alright, so I've had a good start to the year. With
how many you watched?
5 new watches, and this would be my one rewatch. So
as of the 5th.
As of the 5th. So I'm at 1 new watch per day plus a rewatch.
It's not bad. I'm on 7 new watches and 1 rewatch.
Getting
ahead early, because once TV starts back up, I'm screwed.
Yeah. So I hit 119 new watches last year, which is about half of my record. I think 2014 I got to about 240 something.
Yeah, last year I only been keeping track of these for a couple of years since I think I did 2015, 16, 17, and that 17 was the first time I was under 100. By quite an amount too. It was embarrassing, and I'm not happy.
I've been keeping track since 2007.
I've had a vague awareness, but I've never bothered counting before a few years ago.
Yeah. I'm happy to say, though, in my years of keeping records, I've never been on under 100. 2007 was the smallest. I think I was like 103 for 2007, so, Okay.
In my defense, last year was my busiest year with all other stuff.
Sure. I don't care about excuses, though. I care about results.
I know, me too. That's why I'm not happy and why I'm making a start now.
Okay, we'll move away from this ultra nerdy conversation and actually talk about the movie, Invasion of the Body Snatchers. This is obviously quite a cast. You got Donald Sutherland in the lead role. You got Brooke Adams as the female lead. You've also got Jeff Goldblum in there. You got Leonard Nimoy. You got Veronica Cartwright, which is weird because Veronica Cartwright I know primarily, of course, from Alien. This is actually a year before Alien, so it's like, oh, Veronica Cartwright was a thing before Alien.
Yeah, she wasn't discovered for that.
Which, to be fair, it's not like the other actors in Alien weren't known in some capacity. I think most of them were. I think Sigourney Weaver is the one who sticks out as not really being known for anything.
The newbie, yeah.
But no, so you got quite a cast, and of course you take the premise of these alien pods are duplicating people and replacing them, and you give it more of a gritty horror 70s spin that this movie does. And it's set in the city. It's not a small town. It's a big city. And it tries to take advantage of that. So that's what the movie is. So I will start spoiler free, of course, and I'll give you some warning. I don't imagine the spoiler free section will go on too long, but I will definitely warn you before we dive into spoilers. But as always, with these movies that are first time watches for Connor, I always like to start with a question. Connor, did you enjoy Invasion of the Body Snatchers 1978?
Very much so. I thought it was very good.
Excellent.
I assume you did.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I like it quite a bit.
I mean, I know that, but the audience might not.
No, it's very good. I think whereas the first version is very 50s B-movie sci-fi, I think this one is definitely 70s gritty filmmaking. Like, it feels like it has that vibe to it.
Oh yeah, and the plot even immediately it moves so much quicker. The idea that, oh no, this is what's going on, is established almost immediately in this movie, whereas I remember in the 50s it kind of builds up to it. The mystery kind of plays for a while.
Yeah, the first one's more about mystery. This one's more about paranoia, and the idea of sitting in a city is kind of like the idea of, like, we're surrounded by millions of people, and they could be the invaders.
Yeah, we don't know half these people.
Yeah, half.
Well, more than half. Half is a figure of speech, and you know that. It's
New York. You think most people know half the population in New York?
Some of them might.
Well, there's like 7 million people in that city.
Someone has a very good memory.
So it has all that going for it. And again, I think the other big thing, of course, is the direction's very different. Obviously, the 50s movie is very, straightforward. It's of its era. Whereas this, again, is also of its era. But in this case, it means there's a lot more stuff. There's a lot more handheld going on. There's a lot more sort of guerrilla kind of feel to the filmmaking where they're on the streets, especially when stuff starts getting paranoid and you've got Donald Sutherland like combing the streets, trying to use various payphones so he can't be tracked.
Yeah, it's a lot like darker, just in the way it's lit immediately. It's genuinely just physically darker.
Yeah, it's much darker, and I feel like the city itself plays more of a sort of character in the movie.
Okay.
Because obviously you had various locations in the 50s movie where you kind of like got familiar with, but I feel like here they're more like safe beacons. Like, you got Sutherland's house, you've got the spa, and you've got like Sutherland's like office at work, and like these are all sort of these safe locations that they keep trying to get to. Like, and everything in between is like no man's land almost.
No, you're right. In the 50s movie, it was a lot less about the town, but a lot about the actual people. Because you that spent a lot of time getting to know a lot of the people before things went weird. Whereas here, it's like, no, everything's weird already. We don't know everyone, but we know where we are. And we like I say, in between the things is just, okay, this is the danger.
Yeah. I'd like to say you don't get to know these characters that are main.
Oh, no, you definitely know your core cast.
Yeah. So you get all these characters, and they're very defined in their roles. I feel like Donald Sutherland's character and Brooke Adams' characters, they have instant chemistry, even though they're not in a couple. Like, she's actually dating someone else who's actually one of the first pod victims, and that's going on. And then you get Jeff Goldblum's character, who's this kind of cynical hard ass who disagrees with everything Leonard Nimoy says, who is this like psychiatrist doctor who writes books and is kind of a sort of minuscule celebrity. He's got that going for him. And then you've got Veronica Cartwright, who's just kind of Goldblum's girlfriend who runs this spa, and this is the whole thing that's going on. So you get all these characters, you get to know them, but you get to know them so well that when they potentially aren't the real people anymore, you can tell. There's tell signs.
Before the official reveal, you're kind of going, okay, I know what's happened here.
Yeah, so it plays with that, I think, a little bit better. You know, compared to the 50s version, I feel like the characters have a bit more sort of a... I keep using this word, I don't want to, but gritty realism to them, where they have more kind of inherent faults and kind of insecurities. You know, I feel like, to take David Goldblum's character, I don't feel like there was anyone in the 50s movie that was as clearly as neurotic as he is.
I'm sorry, who's David Goldblum?
Jeff Goldblum, sorry. I don't know why I said David.
I don't know either. There's not even a David here to mix it up with.
Actually, Leonard Nimoy's character is David Kibner.
Oh, okay. So, all right.
That's what I'm...
All right,
that's my story. It. I'm sticking to it.
Yeah, sure.
But no, I'll take kind of like, can you think of anyone as like sort of defined in the original? Because they're all kind of like, not cookie cutter, but they're all like a bit more simple character-wise in the 50s movie.
They're caricatures. They play their roles, but nothing more. Whereas these, you know, we say, oh, they're defined into their roles, clearly. But they have more going on than that, for sure.
Yeah. So you got a good cast, you got good direction, some good music, I thought.
Definitely.
Really good score, as well as a as a rendition of Amazing Grace at one point. That's a very big moment in the movie, which is fun. So you get all that stuff. Yeah, I think it's just a tenser film overall. I think it plays the horror element way more. Like it plays it plays the terror of these things coming for you way more than the I think the original does, because like you said, the original is more of a mystery up until a certain point.
Yeah, it's funny, like you say, it is very much playing the horror to a point where when I was watching this, I was surprised you didn't tell me we weren't allowed to do this on this show and that this was reserved for streams after midnight.
It's borderline. It's kind of one of those things.
I was like, I'm surprised you didn't.
It's like Alien. Alien is totally a horror movie, but it still kind of fits.
It does.
Fits here. Yeah. So, you get these examples. Yeah, I think just comparing some of the shots, like compare the shots in the original of the townspeople chasing our main characters, trying to assimilate them, and then compare it to some of the shots in this one where they're running down like these dark like warehouse alleyways, and there's just like one light in the background, and they're all in silhouette, and it's way more inventive with the filmmaking. It's way more inventive with the visuals and the camera work. It
plays much more the faceless crowd, whereas when it was the townspeople in the 50s, you could pick out a lot of people that you recognized.
Yeah.
And go, oh no, that's that person chasing them, this person chasing them. Where this is just, oh no, they don't know who's chasing them. There's just people.
Yeah, and obviously the story in general is kind of an analogy for losing your individuality and becoming part of the pack and just going along with what everyone else is. Yeah. And I feel like here the horror of that is again kind of deeper. It's like you can almost argue that this even has more specific allusions to something like the Nazis or something like that, where it feels almost like the Gestapo, like going around and you're hiding from them and they're coming. Like I'm thinking later on in the movie where some characters have got them trapped and they're sort of like in hushed tones talking about what they're going to do with them and things like that. It feels like there's this force that's building beneath the surface and they're coming after them. So I think there's parallels to that. There's parallels to Nazi Germany. But then, of course, you could just be more broad and say, it's kind of like, just, again, just like everyone's expecting you to be normal and be like one of what the status
and of course, the obvious thing to throw up of the time, communism. The idea, everyone's kind of just the same, falling in step, equal. And, these are the outliers who, thought, no, we can't be having that.
Yeah, there's a lot of parallels to make there, I think. So no, I think we'll give a spoiler warning so we can talk about plot and talk about specific things. So, yeah, so quite early on, you have Matthew and Elizabeth, Donald Sutherland and Brooke Adams characters, who have so much chemistry. Like, it's off the charts. The way they're smelling at each other, the way he's smelling at her, it's clear these two have feelings for each other, but they're just, we're work friends. But they're there together, and she's found this flower. She's convinced that something's weird with her husband. Like he's acting weird. He's not himself. And at first, it's just a bit of speculation. And she talks to him about it, and she's getting a bit more agitated about it, a bit more scared. And he's like, oh, look, let me take you to my psychiatrist friend, right? Leonard Nimoy. Let me take you to him. And that's where we meet Goldblum and whoever else. And we hear that there's other people with this same thing. There's other people coming to him and saying, oh, my husband or my wife or whoever aren't themselves anymore.
Yeah, we see one kind of very loudly proclaiming it at this event. Like this one where, no, that's not my husband. You know, something's changed, making a bit of a scene.
And of course, Nimoy represents this complete skeptic where, no, this is all tomfoolery. This is just some sort of weird psychological thing that's spreading. But it is spreading because there's more and more people with this thing.
Yeah, he attributes it to a flu that's going around.
Yeah. And of course, you get the cameo from the main character of the first version of the movie, who runs out. And he's basically doing what he did in the end of the first movie, where he runs out onto the motorway and starts like screaming, they're coming for you, they're coming for you. He does that in this movie. He meets a bit more, a bit of a sadder ending, which is probably something you can say about the movie as a whole. The first movie actually ended with him convincing the authorities and them dealing with the situation. Whereas this movie, it ends in the bleakest possible, we're all screwed manner.
Yep.
That can
it's like, nope, forget it. Forget any of that hope and optimism that you had in the 50s. That's all gone now.
Pretty much. That's basically what the movie is. And yeah, it kind of builds, but it's all horror, and you get a lot of practical effects. With the pod people like becoming, and they're kind of these goo people. And I like that they discover, because Goldblum's asleep and his girlfriend finds him, or finds the new body that's going to become him, but it's all just, it's kind of undefined. And this is kind of something we had in the first movie where, no fingerprints, that kind of thing. So they mention those little details, but it's like, okay, so what is he? What's going on? And they kind of realise that when they fall asleep, the process continues, like, and the things keep turning into them, and they keep getting more paranoid to try to talk. We actually find out in the middle that Leonard Nimoy is actually one of them already. He's already working with the boyfriend fella who turned at the start of the movie, and this is the whole thing. It's
one of those that's kind of, okay, this is an obvious moment, because it's like, okay, no, he's been kind of working against them the whole time.
Yeah, trying to
convince them, don't look into this. It's not worth it.
Yeah, there's a lot of nice little details throughout. You kind of tell that the people who are replaced, their bodies just turn into like sort of dust and fluff, and you see them disposing.
It's a really great effect when it happens. They kind of go, it's like they get really dehydrated. You know, like when you like dehydrated fruit. It kind of does that, where they shrink in and shrivel.
Yeah, you don't see it until the end of the movie, though. They actually save the visual of this happening until the end of the movie, but it's hinted out throughout the whole thing. This is what they turn into, and yeah, it gets to this point. And what I think is funny is the movie's almost 2 hours long, and I would maybe argue it's a touch too long.
Yeah, maybe 10-15 minutes.
I would maybe shave off a little bit of it, but I have to admit that for as little plot as there actually is, because once this happens and they're all kind of like the two couples are living together, and well, I mean, okay, technically Matthew and Elizabeth aren't a couple yet, but the two couples are living together, and they're basically watching over each other as they sleep. And then once we get to this point in the movie, and we're noticing that more and more people are acting strange, like he goes to the dry cleaners, and the first time he goes, the husband's like, "That's not my wife. She's changed. But then when he goes on later on, he's like, "Oh no, everything's fine now." Yes.
Yeah. And we get that woman who was making a scene at the event before being like, "Oh no, it's all fine now. I'm not being put up to this. I just wanted everyone to know that it's all good."
Yeah. So yeah, it really plays with that whole paranoia thing, where as the movie goes on, it keeps spiraling. And we have that scene where they're all asleep, and like they're all being created. All four of them are getting their bodies, and they just wake up in time, and the people are starting to come for them like a mob out the front, because they keep avoiding being turned, and and from there, that's where we get all these gorgeous chase sequences throughout the city where they actually have to run, and eventually Goldblum and his girlfriend kind of like run off to try and distract him, and she doesn't want to leave him, so we're left with the pair, and they're on their own, and they're trying to like run away, and of course it ends in dark times where she's turned. She just gets up and she's completely turned, and he's hugging her original body when she's asleep. And that's when we see the actual effect of it, like decompressing and closing in.
It's weird, because this section of the movie is possibly the best section, with all this shit. But it's also the section that's the easiest bit to say, okay, here's where you cut a few minutes from. Because this stuff goes on for quite a while, this chase stuff.
It does. Yeah, maybe you could tighten it a little bit. Because after this, like, because they get to like a plant where they're farming the pods so they can ship them out. And that's where we get there's a great big scene, because he leaves her at one point, because he's like, oh, there's a ship over there, I'm going to see what the ship is, and maybe we can get on the ship and leave. And Amazing Grace is playing the whole time as he's running towards it. It's, you know, just glorious, like, bombastic, big, bagpiped version of Amazing Grace. And then he gets to the ship and they're loading pods onto it. They're spreading this all over the planet. It's not just a city.
Yeah.
And he comes back and he holds her as she's asleep, and she just like fades away into nothing and just falls out of his arms. It's like so depressing.
And then the other version just stands up behind him.
Yeah. It's a proper creepy moment. There's good creepy moments like that throughout.
Yeah, definitely.
And then he just kind of runs, and he basically tries to defy them by burning their farming warehouse as best he can.
Pretty good effort.
Yeah, it is okay. And he gets away. I mean, actually leaving this kind of ambiguous moment where we think he might be about to be caught, but he might be staying hidden. And we cut to after, and throughout the whole sequence, because they actually play with this, because at one point the two of them hide in his lab for a little bit. And eventually the bad guy shop, Nimoy, who's taken over and whatever, show up, and they're like, hey, we're going to put you to sleep, we'll give you some sleeping serum or whatever, and we're going to put you out. And they get out, and when they actually run into Veronica Cartwright again in the building, and she, like, and at first you think, oh, she's taken over as well, but then you find out, no, she's just pretending. You can trick them. If you pretend you're one of them, you can get by. So this sets up at the end of the movie where we see him, and he's like, he sees all of them like walking down outside the hall. So he gets up and he joins the line, and he's one of them. He's pretending, and you think he's pretending because it takes a bit longer, because he's working on something, and he looks over and sees them, and he gets up and does it to copy them almost.
Yeah.
So it feels like he's pretending. Sure. And then he's outside, and he's walking down, and Veronica Cartwright, Nancy, she shows up again, and she's like, oh, hey Matthew, it's you. And she comes towards him smiling, showing emotion, because that's the key thing, you have to not show emotion. Yeah. And it's funny, I think you can't watch this now without knowing the ending, because this moment is gift eternally on the internet. I've seen it like...
It's true, I'm... This is the first time I've seen this movie, but I was familiar with this moment still.
Yeah. And he points and does the noise,
that ungodly scream. Yeah.
It's a great big moment. It's a great big sort of, no, we're all screwed. I actually kind of like that she's the one who, at least for the longest, survives, because she's the one you don't expect.
Oh yeah, you're expecting him or Elizabeth for sure.
You expect maybe him to go down to save Elizabeth, maybe, as you're watching the movie, or something like that.
Yeah, but once Elizabeth goes, you go, okay, so he's going to be the one now.
Yeah. But so I kind of like that she's the one who kind of survives. I mean, admittedly, arguably after this final moment, she's as
probably
good as dead.
Not for much longer. Yeah.
But no, it's a nice touch. It's a surprising little moment when she pops up again.
Oh, definitely, and that scream sounds amazing.
Oh, it does, and I think even if you've seen the ending, you don't know that's who he's pointing at, because you just see that one shot of him pointing.
No, it's true.
The face. And to be fair, they also use that image of him pointing on the cover art and stuff now, so they don't even hide it. It's
the same thing they do with Planet of the Apes, isn't it?
It's exactly the same thing. Where now it's just such an iconic image of the movie, they just use it without even caring. But hey, what are you gonna do? But no, so that's kind of the plot. It's actually a really straightforward plot. It's a plot that's it's probably a movie with the most like in dark rooms and dark alleyways, like whispering. I can think of. I just, when I think of this movie, I think of like lots of like huddled together hushed tones, like talking about what they're going to do.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, it's the conspiracy. I mean,
yeah,
like that's kind of, they keep going, oh, it's a conspiracy. Is it a conspiracy? But even if they're not convinced at times, they still treat it like it is in the way that they act.
Yeah, it's not even till halfway through where someone finally sort of theorizes that maybe this flower that's causing this is from outer space.
Yeah, that was one of the few moments I kind of had a problem with, though, because she's just like, no, maybe it's from space. Like, nothing to lead her to that.
Yeah.
You have Elizabeth going, I don't know what this flower is. It's not in any of the books. I don't know where it's from. And then Nancy's just like, it's probably from space. Well, we always expect them in metal ships, but why not flowers? It's a space flower. I'm like, you're right, and I know you're right, but why do you just get to this?
What I liked about that, though, is one of the other guys goes, hey, I don't expect them in metal ships.
Yeah.
I don't expect them at all.
Exactly.
It was a pretty good funny line. That reminds me, though, I do really like how the movie starts when it's getting the title. You actually see this planet.
The space sequence.
Yeah. I like that. I like the kind of the eeriness of that. It was kind of a little bit of Alien, which again didn't exist yet. A little bit of 2001 kind of like creepiness going for it. So I dig that. I dig that quite a bit.
It was a nice sequence.
Let me ask you, Connor, did this movie inspire you? Are you in the mood now to get a mud bath?
No, I don't get it. Why would I want to sit in mud?
Do you know what really bugged me about it? Is that the guy who was in the mud bath like gets out and she puts the towel around him. I'm like, why are you putting the white towel on when he's still covered in mud? Let him get to the shower first.
Yeah, no, it's a good point.
It bothered me. It really, like, this towel now looks filthy.
But she didn't have to look at him.
Also, there was a guy reading a book in the mud bath, and I'm like, how did you not get mud in that book? How did you...
To be fair, I think that about people who read books in just a regular bath. I'm like, how are you not getting this book wet? How is it not ruined? It's a skill that some people have that I do not understand.
Yeah, what I need, because the house I'm in doesn't currently have a bath, but should and when I get a bath, I'm going to some sort of like safety net so that I can take the tablet in and read comics in the bath.
Oh, yeah, that's the thing. I hear people go, oh, I'll read the tablet, like read some book on my tablet in the bath. I'm like, what? Are you brave person? I'm not brave enough to do that.
No, I need a safety net. I need to build some sort of safety net so that if I do drop it, it'll just kind of...
I bet you can buy a stand, like those little things that stick to the walls.
Yeah.
I bet you can buy one of them.
Yeah, get one that's got like a proper sort of like magnetic rim or something that just locks it in so it just can't physically drop.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we need.
Yeah, that is what you need.
Yeah, but no. Definitely the most mud bath stuff I've seen in a movie, though.
Yeah. I don't get it though. What's the appeal?
Oh, it's
mud. Stop it.
It's the same principle. You know how they do facials, they put the cucumbers on their eyes, all that nonsense.
Yeah, but at least with that they put actual cream around them. That okay, no, this is okay, we got
usually, but I have seen it done with mud before though.
Yeah, and I think it's weird for that as well.
Oh sure, I mean to be fair, at least the mud that they're using here, I'm assuming is like it's not just mud they've taken from outside. It's curated
really
mud,
not. But it's still mud. It looks awful. Why would you want to sit in that?
I'll be honest, my biggest problem with it is my junk. Like imagine being naked in mud and the mud can and everything. That's the.
Why? Why would you do this to yourself?
Having it on my arm doesn't really bother me. It's like, yeah, it's just a flat surface, fine. But it's anything where there's like an orifice of some kind.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, no, I get you. But it just doesn't look appealing, does it? And these two guys are there, proper relaxing in it. I'm like, how are you so relaxed?
Yeah, screw sand as well while we're on the subject. But while I'm at it.
Yeah, no, I'll second that. Definitely don't want a sand bath.
Well, I wasn't suggesting that,
but I'm just going that to the extreme.
I'm just saying, sand ain't that great, and this is not some sort of weird Star Wars Episode 2 reference.
No. I thought of it. I thought, nope, not going to take the bait.
Yeah, it's just genuinely kind of annoying. That's all I'm saying.
It is pretty irritating. So as stupid as that moment is in that film, I can relate to the sentiment.
That's the worst part about it. You hate yourself for actually agreeing with them.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the big thing. You hate yourself for it.
It's horrible.
You do. Back to the invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Yes, plant people.
Plant people. I really like the overall kind of mood. I think that's the biggest thing that I think it's got.
It's got a real tone and atmosphere to it, hasn't it?
I think that's the big thing that's got over the 50s version.
Yeah.
And I like the 50s version. It's got that, suburban sci-fi thing going for it, and I really like that, don't get me wrong. But I think the 70s one does feel a bit more visceral. It feels a bit more like... It's just scary, basically. Like
it is, and I think it does such a great job with how little plot it actually has, because you can boil the plot down to about 3 sentences, really. But it stretches it to, 2 hours, give or take, and... Maybe slightly too long, but for the most part, it's hitting everything it needs to, everything it's trying to.
Yeah, I'd maybe shave 10 minutes off of it. Probably just little bits here or there, just tighten it up just a touch. But there's no actual sequence in it of itself.
There's no point where you're going, oh, this is dragging. Just overall, you're like, okay, maybe a touch too long.
Yeah, because horror movies don't typically tend to be that much over 90 minutes.
No.
And I think that's for a reason. I think it's because if you have things be properly tense, if you actually succeed in creating the tension, it gets tiring after a while. So that's why they typically tend to be short.
I think, yeah, as well, even aside from the tension, just the fear of something, it loses its effect over time, doesn't it? So, you keep it shorter and go, okay, no, it's still, while it's scary, just stop there.
Well, that's why you build, that's why you have escalation, because you start off with just the barest of little hints of the fear, and then you kind of compound and compound.
Which is why I think it's interesting that this actually starts so far in. Like, we immediately, people replaced, we're immediately in on this from, like 5 minutes into the movie.
I think what I like about it, though, is that you get that feeling that, okay, that happens at the start of the movie, but you get the feeling that it is just a few people at the start. But then as the movie goes on, it feels like, okay, now there's like maybe 5% of the city's taken over. But then by the time you get to the third act, it's like, okay, like 70-80% of this city have been taken.
It feels like it's just these at points.
Yeah. And it feels like, when they're running down like the street at one point towards the end of the movie, you've got you've just got the two of them at this point, and they're walking down the street, but they're looking around at everyone. Like, everyone's potentially one of them.
Are they one of them? Are they on to us?
Yeah. I do kind of like, though, that they still have to communicate. It's not like a hive mind. Because they can because at one point they like sneak onto a truck and they kind of like chase out, get away from one of them, and there's still kind of a pod person driving the truck. So it's not like they have this connection where they just know.
I mean, it sets that up early on as well with the the guy, the very first guy, the boyfriend or boyfriend, I think, that that gets turned and he's off meeting with others. He's not. They don't just know things. They're off talking to other people across the city.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's what makes her so paranoid. Because she's like, been following him. He's been meeting with people that we don't know. Like, I have no idea who any of these people are. There's something fishy going on.
Oh yeah.
He's not acting like himself. Because obviously we see him at the start of the movie. The briefest scene we get of him before he turns, he's in like a t-shirt. He's watching some sport games. He's got headphones on. He's sort of being a bit of a slob and eating out of a bowl or whatever. And then for the rest of the movie, once he's turned, though, he's in a suit the entire time, and he's got his hair's all well kept, and he's very sharp looking. He's just very different.
He goes, business meetings.
Yeah, and it's all, I almost imagine from her perspective, he's never walked in the room and said, "I need to go to a meeting" in his life before.
No, definitely not.
I don't imagine so. Anyway, and then you've got the obvious thing. I think we spoke a lot about this in the original movie, but just the idea that, the replacements, like, we're still you, but we're without all the things that hold us back, like feelings or fear or love or anything like that. And the idea, what's the point of living without all those things? It's like
that's it. Because they kind of have a bit of a monologue at one point where they're like, no, we're just surviving. That's all we care about.
But is surviving enough? Is surviving? Does it have a point to it if you're not actually?
Well, that's the thing. To them, clearly it does. That's enough because they survive, and to them.
Sure, to them. But I'm talking more in a broad sense. Like the question that the movie's asking is surviving enough? And clearly it's not, because you don't feel anything. There's nothing there. It goes back to the old thing of like, would you take immortality versus a life that's short, but you actually have people in it, and you experience love and you experience all these different things, and obviously if you could have both, then maybe sure, why not?
Yeah, exactly.
But no, so yeah, it's a science fiction film because it raises those kind of questions. It explores these things. It is an analogy for communism, Nazi Germany, all these things, individuality, big theme in science fiction in general. It's a big theme. But
it is.
On top of that, it's also just a pretty really well directed little gritty horror movie.
I think that's what makes it particularly good. It's the direction, because like I say, these ideas, they're nothing unique to this movie. Definitely not. You've seen it done, countless times. I mean, this one is literally a remake of another movie. Yeah, with the same themes.
You got good cast, you got good practical effects as well. But the direction's the stuff that stands out, I think, more than anything else. And honestly, I'll say this right now, and I know that there's a lot more of them, but like, this is why after this one, I don't need any more versions of Invasion of the Body Snatchers. They seem to want to remake it every like 10, 15 years. It's just one of these things they keep coming back to. But you know what? I've got my 50s B-movie version. I've got my gritty 70s horror version. I don't need any more. I saw the Daniel Craig one from like 2007 or something like that, and it was like, just...
I haven't seen it. I don't mind
bad.
The idea if they can find something new to do with it and do it well. Like, you gotta have a... Because again, like I said, the idea and the messaging... That's all pretty standard for sci-fi. It's have you got a new way to do this, and something different. It's not a B movie. It's not essentially a horror movie. You got to come at it with a completely different approach if you want to do it again.
Well, no, that's fine in different contexts. Like, Community did an episode where it was basically that plot but with singing. Like, they were turning people into members of the Glee Club. It was like a joke version of it. That's fine. What I'm talking about is the actual plot of like plant people replacing people. As the core plot. I don't need to see that again. It's too specific. Like, it's exhausted. I'm done. It's fine. Because whenever I've seen like another attempt at it, like the 2007 version, or whenever I've seen,
like that I've not seen that one. What did they do? What was that? Did they try and make it a horror film again, or did they try and do something different?
Yeah, there was like a thriller horror where paranoid.
That's it. I think you got to treat it differently. I don't know what that differently is. That's not for me to come up with. But if you want me to go, no, this is on par, then that's what they've got to do.
Yeah, I don't know what you do with it. I honestly, if I was the one greenlighting movies, I'd be like, I'd never greenlight another one. I'd be like, no, that's done. The idea's been perfected.
No, like I said, unless they can come to me with a way that it's different, then yeah.
I don't know. Anytime I've seen it since, where it's tried to play it remotely like either of these versions, it just feels like I'm going through the motions. Like, I've seen this done already. I don't need to see this anymore. Even one of the worst episodes ever of the hit television show Buffy the Vampire Slayer is a Body Snatchers ripoff, and that is a tedious episode to get through.
I don't actually remember it, so that probably proves your point.
Bad eggs, Connor. Bad eggs.
Oh, okay. I remember disliking it. Yeah, I do remember disliking it. Yeah.
There's some visuals in it of Alien, but it's more of a Body Snatchers episode.
I recall now.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I feel like it's just one of these plots, because I think there's other things where you say, okay, let's do Die Hard on a different thing. Like Die Hard on a boat, Die Hard on a plane, Die Hard on a train, Die Hard,
Yeah.
You can do Die Hard on lots of different things, and I think Die Hard's a broad enough plot that I don't mind them trying it in different things like that. Whereas Body Snatchers, I'm like, nah, like it's specific enough that I don't really feel the need to do. People are being replaced with alternate versions of themselves.
I'm not for it necessarily, unless they give me a good reason. But I'm not inherently going to go never. So someone might come up with a really good idea, and I'll go, yeah, I want to watch that.
I'm just saying, if anyone's going to pitch me a Body Snatchers remake or reboot of some kind, it's not going to be an uphill battle. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, definitely will.
Uphill battle. And apparently Don Siegel, who was the director of the 50s ones, also got a cameo in this.
He does?
Yeah. He played the taxi driver. I just noticed the name there. I didn't know who he looked like, so I would never have
me either.
Noticed him. But hey, that was nice. It was nice that they had a couple of cameos for the old folk.
Acknowledging that no, that existed.
Yeah, it wasn't like, it was honouring the legacy. It wasn't just kind of like, oh, no, that one was shit, we're going to do our own better version. It was, no, that was a cool way of doing it. And here's...
I think I prefer this version, but I think they're both valid takes on the idea. And I think that's inherently why I'm saying I'm not as opposed to another version doing something different, because they are very different in the way they treat it.
Oh, they are, but I can't imagine what another version would be.
No, I can't either, but someone might be able to. Someone better than me coming up with ideas.
I will be shocked if it ever happens, but, we'll see. So, no. Anything else you want to add for Invasion of the Body Snatchers?
The dog was cool.
Oh, yeah, the dog with the human head. Yeah. Implying that the pod kind of got things wrong when it was...
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, that was an interesting effect, I have to say. Yeah.
It looked real good.
It did look good. No, I agree with that. All right, do you want to rate the movie then?
Yeah, okay, it's a solid 8.
Yeah, I actually concur with that score, exactly. 8 out of 10. So, there you go. That's Invasion of the Body Snatchers, 1978. Yeah, so by all means, let us know what you think of the movie. As far as other stuff to inform you about, obviously I'll remind you about the Vault, which is the Patreon sort of submitted list of movies, where our patrons can submit a movie to the list, the Vault list, and every so often we pick one off the list to do. So that's there. Also, the voting for this month is up for the patrons at the $5 tier. We have a theme of unconventional romance. for next month's vote. Where you
So,
know you
so it'll be topical, but
yeah.
but we're gonna be better than just.
So of course
we'll...
you're voting throughout January for the movie that we'll do in February. So that's why obviously it's tying into Valentine's to an extent. The options in that are Punch Drunk Love, Her, Lars and the Real Girl, and Lady Hawk. I'm impressed I remembered all those.
I am too.
Because I
was convinced you were going to forget the final one.
I didn't have it in front of me, so it just, I just had to go for it. So that's up for patrons, so you can go check out that. And the winner of last month's actually, which ties nicely into the sci-fi theme of the month. Which, to be fair, they were all sci-fi options because they were all movies set in the future. But our patrons, because sometimes I like to put in a joke option, like there'll be 4 options. And I'll put in one that's kind of funny, thinking no one's going to pick it. And almost, not quite unanimously, but the majority of people voted for not Westworld. That'd have been alright. Waterworld won the vote, so we'll be doing that this month sometime on the show.
It's only a matter of time before one of your joke options blew up.
Do you think it's going to stop me, though? I have to admit, though, we're also doing
making you think twice, though, isn't it?
For the horror movie stuff for streams, the vote this month, we're doing like vampire movies, which are still set in a romance themed.
Yeah. Which is a lot of them.
Yeah, there's a lot of them. I picked 4 good options, but I was really tempted to put Twilight as the joke one.
Oh, I know. I was like, it's so easy, isn't it, though?
And I backed out. I almost did it, and I went, no.
Pussied out. It's like, I'm not giving them that chance.
So no. So there's good movies on that vote. Yeah, maybe next year that'll be on the vote, but. Here we are. So, so go vote if you're a patron. If you're not a patron, go and have a look at the Patreon. See if it tickles your fancy. Over at patreon.com/MaileFuzzTV. Link in that to the description, as well as some other useful links. But otherwise, that is. So like, subscribe. Twitter's at mail_fuzz. All the other usual shenanigans that I spout out at the end of this. Sometimes mess up. Not too bad in this episode, but sometimes I really butcher it.
Yeah, but you'd think, first episode back in the new year, you'd be really professional with this, nail it. And it's kind of been like, yeah, whatever, you know the drill.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. So that is us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching the movies, guys. We'll see you next time.